So, you want to be a master, the best player of Smash. Alright, follow and study these steps patiently, and eventually, with enough time invested and hard work, you'll find yourself beating everyone around you. Here we go. The neutral game is basically when both players have approximately the same amount of stage control and are looking to find an opening on each other. The neutral game consists of many things. The most important one, spacing. By spacing yourself correctly, you can safely poke at the enemy's shield. And if the opponent cannot directly punish out of shield, you've put yourself in a slight advantage. It is at this moment when you hit the shield that you've applied pressure. You've pressured your opponent to react somehow. However they react, you need to keep track of it. This is where identification comes to play. By safely poking around on your opponent's shield, you can start identifying what options they prefer and where their habits and mistakes are. This is where you start downloading your opponent's patterns, and will eventually find openings by pressuring your opponent into making a mistake, punishing something that has consistently been a pattern, or by baiting an overextension. An overextension can be something as simple as trying to shield grab something that is too well spaced. This is actually a very common mistake. You need to realize that you don't always have to punish something out of shield. Sometimes you just can't. Sometimes it's unpunishable. Instead, just get out of the situation and reset neutral. The neutral game requires a lot of patience and reaction. There is no correct way of playing neutral. It's the most difficult part of the game that will always keep evolving and changing. Nobody can teach you how to properly play the neutral game. You have to create your own neutral game, as long as it's well spaced, based on reaction and patience. Just carelessly approaching is not how you create an opening. If anything, you've lost your patience, which means the opponent has won the mental game during neutral. Something you have to realize is that no player will ever have the perfect neutral game. Although some players have a better neutral game than others because they know how to adapt. And the only way to really adapt is through awareness. Awareness is key to learning, improving, and adapting. Guys, this step is really important and applies to life itself. It's better to know how to learn than to know. Think about that for a second and what it really means. It's what we think we know that keeps us from learning. You have to allow the possibility that you don't know what you're doing sometimes, and that it's okay that you don't. And sure, while it can help to study other players and instructional videos to find answers, it's much more important to learn how to solve a problem through awareness. Once you get that mindset, you will instead focus on learning, improving, and most importantly, adapting, rather than sticking with the playstyle you think will win you the match. Because if you stick to what you believe is the best strategy, then start falling behind during a match, or even lose a match, your mentality will start crumbling. Focusing on only winning will mentally add pressure and nerves. Instead, stay aware of what's happening during the match to adapt and overcome your opponent's tricks. It doesn't matter if you're so far winning or losing the match. The momentum can change at any time depending on adaptation, and anyone can end up winning this set at the end. Ask yourself, why do I get hit? Why did I get punished? Why did that not work? Why did that work? Stay aware of why you are succeeding and why you are failing. As long as your awareness is strong, you will find yourself adapting to your opponent way more. This is usually the step to the next level that most players are unaware of. Every character has a variety of objectives, depending on matchup and percentage. Your main objective as a player is to kill the opponent. Before that, you need a kill setup. To get there, you need to add percentage. Question is, what is the most efficient and effective way to deal damage? Ask yourself, when a match starts, what is the first thing you want to accomplish? What is your combo starter? What move do you need to land to get control over your opponent and put them in a disadvantage? And more importantly, what is your next objective? Let me demonstrate some examples. When the match starts, One of Mario's main objectives is to get a grab, since it's the most efficient and effective opening. So obviously, this should be the #1 priority, to get a grab. Finding openings for a dash attack or a forward air wouldn't really do as much for you, and would make you more punishable anyway, although it's not as easy as it sounds. Get a grab. In order to get a grab, you need to, for example, react and punish an opponent's mistake, or condition your opponent into shielding. This is why every character is designed to have a specific set of moves to also be able to play around the objective. In Mario's case, it would be, for example, fireballs, back air, or down air. These moves condition the opponent to shield or react in a certain way, thus creating an opening for a potential grab. Let's take another example. Diddy Kong has a very clear and easy to understand objective. Get a banana and find an opening to hit your opponent with it. Since it leads to a grab, which leads to damage, it's also relatively safe and quick, as well as you can play around the objective. Since the banana will condition the opponent to shield, you have, for example, monkey flip or forward air, which allows you to play around your objective. The next step is to be aware of what options your opponent has to keep your momentum, because after a combo comes the next objective. Let's take my Link as an example. One of my objectives at the start of the game is to hit a bomb because it leads to a grab, not because a bomb deals damage. And I can play around the objective with boomerang, zairs, forward airs, or whatever tools and movement I feel work. When I do hit a bomb and get a grab, I get a combo, since the follow-up ends here, and I can't get another guaranteed follow-up. My next objective becomes to identify if my opponent jumps, attacks, or air dodges and punish his landing. And so on, your objectives change as you progress, and you need to learn what they are. It's the objectives that you have to strategize around as you are in neutral. And once you've established that you know exactly what your objectives are during a match, your neutral game may start to scare or frustrate the opponent. No matter what character you play, you need to learn both offense and defense. Playing purely defense with a defensive character like Samus or Rosalina will not work out for you in the long run. Playing offense will, for example, condition the opponent to hold their shield, which will allow you to find the defensive flaws the opponent has and play around it. And playing defense will, for example, condition the opponent to approach you, which will allow you to punish the opponent whenever they try to approach you carelessly. And sure, some characters have a better offense or defense than others, but that doesn't mean you don't have to master both of them. However, offense is not only about the framework and speed that the character has. It's also about shield damage, shield hit stun, shield pushback, spacing, knowing how to pressure your opponent, unpredictability, punishing double jumps, punishing landings, knowing how to follow up after have found an opening and successfully landed a move, and keep that momentum for as long as you can. And most importantly, knowing when to transition from offense to defense. Defense is about stage control, knowing how to maintain your space and lead, punishing the opponent's lack of spacing and frustrating them into approaching and punishing it. If you're only playing offense or defense, you're limiting yourself, as well as your playstyle will be more predictable and easy to play around. You can always pick up a secondary character to learn offense or defense, and then apply whatever you've learned to your main character. The last step is consistency. To get to a point where you can confidently and easily pull off every single combo, setup, edgeguard, recovery, advanced technique, and so on. Naturally, making as little input errors as possible by dedicating yourself with serious practice and with enough investment of time. Consistency will help you immensely with the mentality and the amount of nerves and fear you feel during a tournament. That'll make you more confident and you'll feel less pressure pulling off certain combos or tricks, which will allow you to focus more on the actual match and how to play around your opponent's tricks. During a friendly match, for the sake of practice, Don't be afraid to think outside the box, try new things, take risks, and push your character to the limit to find out what their limits are. Only those who risk going too far can possibly find out how far they can go, and eventually you'll discover something new. And lastly, during a tournament match, don't focus on winning. Focusing on winning will only create the fear and pressure of losing. You only need to focus on the current match you're playing and what's happening in front of you. Figure out your opponent. That will ultimately give you a win, not by playing safe or good so that you don't lose. Playing good would be playing adaptively, by being in the moment. Don't pressure and worry yourself with future thoughts and hopes of winning. Be present. Be aware. Don't underestimate or overestimate, but be confident in that you can beat anyone, and don't give up. I mentioned this in the previous video, but I'll mention it again. Currently, I'm working as a trainer/teacher, and I work with students from all kinds of levels. I do training sessions for $25 per hour, and I voice chat with you as I tutor you and teach you anything you want to learn. You can buy 1 hour and see if you want to continue. If this is something that interests you, feel free to contact me on Discord.